Good morning, everyone. I hope that I'm audible. Today is going to be a different kind of stream because I'm not at home, but I hope that my audio and my video are both okay. Hi, Wasim, Tej, Divij, Vivek, hi, Meh, Kalpesh, Rizul. Can you all tell me if I am both visible and audible, please? Good morning, Raval. Finally caught a Gita reading after weeks. Yugu, welcome back. Tej, Sid, where are you? I'm traveling, Tej. So that's why I'm using a portable setup. I'm hoping that this will work. I will not be connecting my iPad because that will take up too much bandwidth. So I'll just be reading. I hope that you all have your own copies. So I won't be able to show the, the iPad screen today, but everything else we can continue. Divij, I might lose network, will not be able to participate. Oh, I hope that you don't. I hope that I don't as well, because that is a risk that even I might have. But if so, then we can always take it from there in the next week, if that happens. Manish PK, good morning. So let us begin. We'll start with the Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam व्यासेन गतितां व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता नवमोऽध्यायः राजगुद् राजगुध्यन् राजगुध्यमनाम योग. This is the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and the meaning of the title is the most confidential knowledge. Text number 1. One second. Text number 1. Shri Bhagawanuvacha idam tute gruhyatam pravakshāmyanusuyave ज्ञानं विज्ञानसं सहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात् यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Text number 2. राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमं प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. This sentence, it is the perfection of religion. It gives direct perception of the self by realization. This is something that I've often wondered whether across all religions there seems to be an underlying theme of realization of yourself through a bigger lens, that you're looking at yourself through the eyes of something much bigger than you. And this is common in all religions. And it seems that this chapter is going to address that. Text number 3. Ashraddhadana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. This is something that has been covered before about how the cycle of birth and death, which is just transformation of energy from form to form, will continue unless you, according to this verse, have devotional service in that cosmic energy. Which is, it's so strange that while we are discussing this and during these talks, that those concepts seem to make a lot of sense, but once we go back out there and start living your everyday life, this fades away into the background. And I experience it. I don't know. I'm sure that even you all must be experiencing it. But okay, one second. Is my volume too low? Mm, wait, I'll just adjust it. Wait. Okay. Is it better now? Kalpesh, Chandani, yes, it's fine. Okay. Thank you. Text number 4. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Even you all must be, even you all must be getting familiar with this theme now of how the everyday forms of energy will keep getting converted from one type to another, but there is an underlying prevailing cosmic energy which does not participate in that everyday transformation. So this theme is being repeated multiple times, and it is again being talked about here, that me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Text number 5. न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थो ममात्मा भूतभावना. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. Everything that is created does not rest in me. It is still that same, it is still the same theme that is getting continued across these verses, that just like initially in the first few chapters the focus was on let's separate limbic from PFC, let's talk about the difference between sensory perception and uh, your intelligent mind. Now there is like this effort to make you differentiate between universe, the energies in the universe, that this not everything you see falls under the same bracket, and that just when we talk of energy, it it need not be that you are talking about, you can, this is so interesting. It's almost like just like we cannot look at a human being and their behavior and think, okay, this is just one type of behavior because it is coming in from the limbic or the PFC. Similarly, the universe also has that differentiation. Let's just keep that in mind, and then as we read further, let's try to understand more. Text number 6. यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायु सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. If you remember, there is a lot of metaphors being used through fire, water, earth. So throughout the throughout the series, there have been comparisons of different things with different elements, and that makes a lot of hang on. I don't know if my mic is better now. mm, because I do hope that I'm audible enough for you, because otherwise you won't be able to hear it. Okay, it's okay. Thanks, Mahmood. All right. Text number 7. सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. In the last chapter, we had talked about Brahma's years, about how everything goes in a cycle, and there was even a number given that these many years for one yuga, and then how many yugas for an age, and how everything collapses and then restarts. And now it's again coming, they're talking about the same thing, that at the end of the millennium all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning I create them again. So we see things from the Big Bang, but this seems to talk about a cycle that involves that, and everything collapses and then restarts again. That's very interesting. Because as of now, there is no way to disprove or prove this because we don't know yet. Maybe the next time we discuss astrophysics, we can talk about it. But there is there's nothing that we know so far as I know, that uh, negates this. But we'll have to talk to experts. We can call astrophysicists and discuss this at some point because this is very interesting. Because this is almost it's talking about the way the universe is formed again and again. Text number 8. Prakritim swamavashtabhya visrajami punah punah bhutagramam bhutagramamimam kritsnam avasham prakritirvashat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated again and again at the end. So the cosmic energy decides that creation should start, and the cosmic energy decides that things should collapse. Hmm. Text number 9. न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्न निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. So the cosmic energy does not participate in this creation and destruction because all the things that we see created, stars, planets, galaxies, everything is getting created from some form of energy. And even space and time. So then, before the Big Bang, there is this cosmic energy, and that is pervading throughout creation. And then once this whole universe collapses into itself, that energy still remains, is what is being said. I'm really curious now to talk about dark matter because I don't know enough, but it's yeah, it would be a wonderful thing if we can correlate what we are reading here with what is the current prevalent strategies or theories in astrophysics. Text number 10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvipari vartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under this rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Okay, so we've completed 10 verses. Mm, let me just read. Dharmic, currently in the US, so we'll watch it early morning. Looking forward to reading the Gita first time with you. Well, you're welcome, Dharmic. Thank you. The total energy of this universe is zero, isn't it amazing? Mahmood. Yes, so I think what you're referring to is matter and antimatter, and that they cancel each other out, but I think I'll have to read more about it, because the total energy of the universe, there is, I believe that if we can understand the concept of entropy, like really understand the concept of entropy, a lot of things will become clearer to us. So, out of all the physics topics, I think entropy is one that I would like to learn properly. So, I might call a physicist and talk about this just to understand the concept of entropy. As a wave is generated and is destroyed, like this, only many universes are created and destroyed. It's a cycle. So, that instinctively feels right because everything else behaves like that. Our body behaves like that, our organs behave like that, seasons behave like that, everything behaves in that cycle of creation destruction. So if everything is fitting into a pattern, then it sort of makes sense that the universe will also fit into that pattern unless proven otherwise. So, but this is just speculation. We are, yeah. Ashwin, honest question. Do you understand all Sanskrit, or do you already know what it means when you explain? I am new to the series. So Ashwin, I'm reading from a book which has a translation. I'm reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. So that's the title of the book. You can download it. It's for free. You can just search for it on the net. Does it mean that everything shall implode into one singularity, the space and time itself, and then the next Big Bang takes place? I think that is what they are saying. That is the description given, that there is creation and all of this exists, and then everything collapses into itself, and then things restart. Basically, if the universe reaches an equilibrium with energy, everything will stop working. It will remain stable. That's interesting because um, the state of chaos or the state of flux is actually what keeps things moving. So we want equilibrium, we want to move towards stability, but true stability is death in any sense, because if everything is completely aligned and there is no up and down, then there is no transfer, there is no flow. So for flow, there has to be inequality of anything. So for water to flow, there has to be inequality of height. For money to flow, there has to be inequality of resources. So somebody has something, somebody else wants something. Then only materials will flow. Then only money will flow. So for any flow, there has to be inequality, which as a concept makes a lot of sense. But of course, when we talk about human lives and inequality, the meaning of the word changes. Entropy is nothing but external energy. If not, then a universe will go from higher order to lower order. Right, 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 right. Okay, let's move on. Text number 11. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhutamaheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme lord of all that be. I don't know if there's anything to the idea of mm, derision. So fools deride me because they don't know. So ignorance is ignorance is part of learning. So I don't even in the Gita there are a few areas where it is being ignorance is talked about in a very dismissive way, but everybody who was everybody starts off as ignorant and then move on to knowledge. So the idea of being dismissive about ignorance is yeah, maybe there's a different way of looking at it. Text number 12. Moghasha moga karmano moghanyana vichetasa rakshasi masurim jaiva prakritim mohinim shrita. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. This theme is coming from the first 2 3 chapters, where the discussion is on how, if you are not aware that everything has a much bigger role to play and you are part of a cosmic energy, then you can very easily get stuck in the everyday loop of sensory perception, reward, pleasure, pain. And the idea of their hopes for liberation are all defeated. The idea that you can, if you don't look at the bigger picture, then, and you would still hope for liberation. That's the thing. You would still hope that you will become free, but then you will be stuck in that everyday loop. Text number 13. Mahatmanastu mam partha दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिता भजन्त्यनन्य मनसो ज्ञात्वा bhutadimavvyayam. O son of Partha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Text number 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrita namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, one thing that had always bothered me when I was reading Gita before, 6 years ago and 10 years ago, was how you think of this as a person. So you think of someone saying this, saying, worship me, look at me, think about me all day. And when we read it, one of the characteristics of human thinking is that it's called personification. We personify everything. We personify every concept. We personify gadgets. We personify cars. So we say that my car behaves very well. My car knows not to give up on me right now. We personify mobile phones. We personify chairs. We have a close relationship with your favorite painting. The idea of personification is very inherent because that is how we connect to things. That is how we relate to things. When we read a religious text And we hear a line like this, somebody saying, chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, worshipping me with devotion. We think of it as a human being saying it, and that just feels out of place. That feels wrong. And um, at least I felt that I have to suspend my logic, I have to suspend my thinking in order to really, feel that devotion. But now I feel that that is my cognitive bias, because it is not a human saying it. It's not even, this is almost a concept. And the concept that I understand is that everything you do is part of a cosmic flow of energy. And the more I think about it, I can't disprove this. The idea that definitely there is transfer of energy. You are able to walk, talk, and think because of the things that you have eaten, and because of things that other people have told you, and because of the things that you have read and heard and experienced. All these things happened because those people, those food items, those moments came about because of some energy transfer that came from somewhere else. And to deny that would be false, because we are part of a much bigger story. So, if we are to talk about cosmic energy and think of ourselves as part of it, then this whole thing makes a lot more sense. And the primary reason that we don't do it is because of self-preservation. There is a little bit of fear that I will lose myself, my sense of identity, and that is what I think this book is trying to talk about. That where should your identity come in your calculation? Hmm. Text number 15. Yana yatnyena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatvena prathaktvena bahutya vishwato mukham. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the One without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Those who engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge. So these are two different things. Because it had, there was a verse before that talked about how you can either engage in sacrifice, or you can engage in pursuit of knowledge, or you can engage in devotion, and all three paths will lead you to self-realization. So you can understand yourself if you are just an academic thinker and you keep thinking about the logical outcome of everything and the logical reason for everything. If you keep doing that, eventually you will reach self-realization. If you have a life of sacrifice, you just give up everything, then also you will reach self-realization. Or devotion, which is bhakti, there also you will reach self-realization. So all three paths will lead to that. Text number 16. Aham kraturaham yatnya swadahamaha maushadham mantroham ahamevajyam ahamagniraham hutam. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chat. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Oh man, I love that. The idea that you offer, the idea that you offer, so in at least in Hindu culture, the idea of sacrifices and yajna. So you pour ghee onto fire. Now, where did the fire come from? Where did the ghee come from? They are both part of a chain of energy transformation. And so the idea that you are only pouring energy into energy, and if you're reading a hymn, where did the sound come from? Where did your vocal cords come from? Where did that thought come from? Where you are thinking of reading the hymn. So it is just energy causing energy to move, causing sound, which is also energy. So I'm beginning to think it's not that complicated now. Because it's the same theme. It is the same thought that is being said again and again in different ways. Every verse sort of talks about that same thing. Or maybe it's just that we have oversimplified it and just understood at our level, which is fine, because how else can we understand it? We can only understand it at our level. But this is the same as in academics, guys. If you are giving NEET, if you are giving any exam, there are many ways of understanding something. There are many levels of understanding something. Don't worry if you are not understanding something at a much higher level. Understand it at your level first, but understand it completely at your level, and then read it again, and then you will get to the next level. So this is what happened with me and Harrison, which is a textbook of medicine. Every time I read it, it had a different meaning. And this book, this book will probably be the same, because the common variable between reading anything is that we are reading it with our brain. And so there are certain limitations to our brain, there are certain limitations to our understanding of things. So yeah, don't feel frustrated at anything. Understand it at your level and be open to learning more. Text number 17. पिताहमस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामह वेदं वेदं पवित्रम् ओंकार त्रक्साम युजरेव च त्रक्साम यजुरेव च. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. It's like we spoke about knowledge and how you draw arbitrary lines between subjects. So you can say I'm learning geography, and somebody else will say, oh, I'm learning commerce. But isn't geography connected to commerce? Can commerce exist without geography? It can't. And today, can geography exist without commerce? The idea of human civilization. So is history not connected to commerce? Is physics not connected to arts? Everything is part of one flow, but we draw lines between different subjects so that it makes it easier for us to learn. It is our limitation, not a limitation of that topic. It is not a limitation of that subject. It is our limitation because we need to draw lines between topics so that we can grasp things. But then we forget that those are arbitrary lines. And just like that, energy getting converted into different forms. So if you light a firecracker and it gets converted into heat and sound and light, do we say that this is a we still connect it all to the firecracker, right? We don't think of those three things as separate. We know that all three came from that firework. So if we can think about it to that extent, why can't we think about it a little more and realize that everything is coming in from one form of energy? So this idea of cosmic energy, we keep repeating it, we keep saying it again and again, but I don't know if there's a scientific basis for it. We are just assuming. We are taking it at its word and we are just assuming it. But it's a good assumption. It's a good hypothesis. Think about it that way. It's a good hypothesis. And as we read more and as we read more astrophysics, as we read more science, maybe it will get proven or maybe it will get disproven. Either way, it's okay. But it's a good hypothesis to have. Text number 18. Gatir bharta prabhu shashi. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi. Nivasa sharanam suhyat. Su, nivasa sharanam suhrat. Prabhava pralayasthanam. Nityanam bijamavyayam. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Same concept, more examples. Text number 19. Tapamyahamaham varsham nigraha nigra nigranamyu nigranamyutsrajami cha amritam chaiva mrityucha sadasachaham arjuna. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Text number 20. Traividya mam somapa utapapa yatnyai rishtva swargatim prarthayante te punyama sadhya surendraloka mashnanti divyan divi mashnanti divyan divi deva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice seeking the heavenly planets worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Okay. So this one I didn't understand. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice seeking the heavenly planets worship me indirectly. This has been covered before and that does make sense. The idea that you can worship indirectly. Soma juice, I think Soma is a plant. So the whole Soma Veda is coming in from that idea. And I think that it talks about the different uses of that plant. Mm, purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra. Now this one I don't understand, where they enjoy godly delights. Okay. Mm, nice pro trip for academics. I'm feeling very educated right now, Monsieur Nick. Um, what is the eternal seed? So I think that Mahmood has said the eternal seed means we are still in the womb and not mature enough to be born yet. So I think eternal seed means the cycle of birth and death, like the concept of birth. Basically, that's what I understood it as. But yeah, okay. Text number 21. ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयीधर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामलो कामकामा लभन्ते. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Those those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Okay, the idea the idea of using the Vedas for material pleasure is basically not a good idea according to this verse. So, because you are still stuck in that limbic loop, you are still stuck in that idea of let's work for sensory pleasure. Text number 22. Ananyaschintayanto mam ye jana puryapasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. I carry what they lack. We spend our whole life trying to improve ourselves and become better and become more than what we are. Always. That is what we are all trying to do. We are trying to become more than what we are. We are trying to work more, gain more, um, become more knowledgeable, or become more good looking, or become more wealthy, or become more fit, or something. You are always trying to become something more. So, this idea that worshipping me with exclusive devotion, to them I carry what they lack. So, whatever it is that you're looking for, hmm, okay, it's just a thought, but it's interesting. Text number 23. येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विता तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. Now, this is one of the controversial concepts depending on how you understand it. The idea of worshipping other gods, if you again, if you are to think of it from a very small perspective of this religion versus that religion, then what you end up with is the idea of gods fighting. That my God versus your God. And there is only one God. And no God but God. And the whole idea. The problem is cognitive bias. The problem is how we perceive it. Because it is whatever is existing is already there, and it was there for many years. So the universe started 13.8 billion years ago, the earth came 4 billion years ago, and we came what 50,000 years ago, and then we are here trying to understand something that has been there for 13.8 billion years, and we give it different names. and we say that no, this is this religion, this is that religion, and then we come up with different ways of understanding it, and then we fight, and then we argue that no, my interpretation is correct and your interpretation is wrong, which is fine. That happens in science all the time. But then we kill each other, which is unusual, because imagine if scientists started killing each other because somebody refuted their hypothesis. So if I say that tuberculosis should be treated in a particular way, and somebody else says tuberculosis should be treated in a different way, then me going out and killing that other person seems like such a ridiculous thought. But that is what happened in religion for a long, long time. In fact, still happening. So the idea of us killing each other over our interpretations of something that has been going on for so many billions of years is very unfortunate. So now, coming back, if you look at this verse and if you think about it, and sticking to this theme of cosmic energy versus transformed energy, if you say that there is a cosmic energy, then everything else is transformed energy. So if you are worshipping an idol, that idol is transformed energy. If you're worshipping a book, that book is transformed energy. In fact, if you're even worshipping your idea of that cosmic energy, that is also transformed energy, because the idea would not have come if you hadn't eaten your food and your neural networks didn't fire electric and chemical currents, right? You would not be able to think if you didn't have neurons, if you didn't have a brain, and that brain wouldn't exist if your body did not grow, and your body would not grow if you won't eat. So the idea that you are thinking itself is transformed energy. So this is the fundamental problem. So liking or worshipping other gods, worshipping them with faith, we are the other gods, if that makes sense. We are the transformed energy, just like everything else in this universe, just like any idol, just like any temple, any religious structure, they are all transformed energies. If we are to keep in mind this basic concept of cosmic versus transformed. So the more you think about it, the lesser and lesser sense it makes to fight over this. Rather, just like in science, just like in medicine, it doesn't really matter who comes up with a cure for COVID. The only thing that matters is that it helps people. So but see, the problem is it does matter who comes up with a vaccine for COVID, because there is economics involved and there is power involved. And it's so ironic that just like that, just like the cure for COVID, and whichever pharma company comes up with the COVID vaccine is sorted. Their next 10 years ka profit is done, because having a solution to a universal problem is power, and it is money. And so when religion starts off wanting to find a solution, but ends up becoming a center for power, it automatically changes everything. And so it is, as soon as someone gets power, as soon as someone gets power, their brain will do everything it can to hold on to that power. And so it's a loop. It's difficult to get out of that loop because yeah, yeah, okay. And that is why people fight, and that is why people kill. It's not for it's not for truth. It's not for some cosmic energy. It is not for finding peace. It is to hold on to power. That's the only reason people kill. That is the only reason people have killed ever. In all of human history, people only fight and kill for power. And it is absolutely limbic. It is not a PFC thing. It's not a religious thing. It is not, yeah. Text number 24. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha natu mam abhijananti tattvena tascha vantite. I am the enjoyer and master of all sacrifices, therefore those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Text number 25. Yanti deva vrita devan pitranyanan pitranyanti pitrat pitra vrita bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such things. And those who worship me will live with me. Hmm. Hmm. So what you think of is what you become, basically. Okay. I'm going to read the chat now just because I think we spoke about a lot of concepts and I'm interested in what you guys think. Uh, Holding on to power, that's a basic limbic concept, Kalpesh, exactly. It's just the identity that limits them. Sensory pleasure, power equals greater chance of survival. Exactly. So it's a very, very limbic thing. It's a very survival oriented thing. We feel that we have evolved a lot, and just because we have built religious structures and just because we have built countries and civilizations, we have evolved a lot, but we haven't. We haven't. We are still scared animals running in the jungle. And as soon as someone threatens you, as soon as someone says, hey, your God is not real, your limbic system is getting activated, your amygdala is getting flared up because you feel you are under threat. So, yeah, that is why you fight. That is why you kill. Because if you have truly understood this idea that there is cosmic energy and there's transformation of energy and we are all part of one big cycle, would you really want to kill anyone? Why? What's the point? Right? So, Mahmood, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, God, for making me an atheist. So, the idea of believer and atheist is also, it's an oversimplification, right? Because it's, what is the difference? I mean, there is some truth and you're trying to find it. And yeah, that's all. That's all there is. Everything is exploited by us humans for power and greed, be it religious, absolutely. Because yeah, you can't escape from that. You have to voluntarily try to not be limbic. Otherwise, your default setting is act like an animal. Default is that you have to consciously try to be human. Otherwise, you will go back to being an animal. So you should try and be human, and it's a matter of practice. It's like juggling a football, or it's like you know, shooting a penalty. It's just practice. You practice being a human and you will be one. I think that those who are in power or want to be power truly ignore the fact that they're connected to everything and everyone. One exists because of the other. Absolutely. Vishwa Reddy. Oh, thank you for the super chat, man. This is my last stream because of my eyes problems. All of you are OP rider. Okay. Divyansh, thank you. To understand ancient texts in the correct way, we first need to learn science. Yes, so one leads to the other, because the religious texts actually were the first scientific concepts, because they thought a lot. They came up with hypotheses. They said maybe the universe is like this because of this, and considering the evidence that they had, it made a lot of sense. The problem is that it didn't get updated, and power came in. And so people said that now whatever is there, we are not going to change it. No matter what new evidence comes in, we will not change it. And as soon as anyone says that I will not change irrespective of new evidence, that person stops growing. So whether it's a student, whether it is a corporation, whether it is a startup, or whether it's a religion, if you are not willing to change with new evidence, you will stop growing. So yeah. All right. So now I'm just going to read the whole thing, and we'll finish the chapter and then we will discuss. Text number 26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakta yupahat yupahya tam shrami prayatamatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it, because it's all the same. Text number 27. Yattaroshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi tadasi yattapasyasi kaunteya tatkurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me, because it's all the same. Text number 28. Shubha Shubha Falairevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupeshyasi. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. This is circling back to the first two chapters, where work without thinking about the results. So work just thinking of how it's part of cosmic energy, and you will be freed from the small nitty-gritties of kya hoga, ye kiya to kya hoga. Text number 29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu na me dveshyosti na priya ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mahi te teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Not partial to anyone. Okay. So, no harm basically. Think of the cosmic energy and work in that flow if you are going to benefit, if you want to benefit. If not, no harm done. Continue living the way you live. Text number 30. Api chetsu duracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samagya samagya vasito hisa. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Okay. Hmm. Sudarachara. Sudarachara is the word. Okay. Abominable action. If he is engaged in devotional service. Like if you do something terrible, but if you're. There is a conflict here. There is a conflict here. So if you think of good and bad, if you think of abominable versus very respectable or very generous, both of those concepts are in the immediate, are in the here and now, and the abominable and the very good are both defined by outcome, and their outcome is usually sensory perception, right? Let's work this out. Let's think about this. The idea of, suppose you hit me, that is a very bad thing to do, but we have defined it as bad because you hitting me gives me pain and makes me feel bad or makes me feel angry. Whereas if you give me a new car, then that would be a very generous thing. I would like you if you give me a new car because I have attached importance to that car and it is now giving me a lot of pleasure. And so abominable things versus generous things are classified as per the outcome, and that outcome is sensory perception in some way. Suppose we remove sensory perception, suppose we remove the idea of outcome, which it is not possible, at least where we are now, it is not possible, but we are talking theoretically, then there is no abominable action, there is no good action, there are just actions. And whatever action you do, thinking of that cosmic energy, it would mean that you are still in that flow of that grand scheme of things. I am not entirely convinced by this logic. I think that there is something that I'm missing out on. So yeah, so this verse I'm not able to fully wrap my head around it. Yeah. Shaurya depends on the frame of reference. It does, exactly. And the whole idea of cosmic energy is that it does not depend on frame of reference. It is independent of everything. So yeah, abominable actions is just a construct, Kalpesh. It is because who decides abominable action? The two people who are involved, or society. decides. And the idea of, and this is not very complicated actually, because we all know that there are certain things which are situational. For example, um, situational to time. So a teacher hitting a student 100 years ago was much more accepted than it is now. So today, if a teacher hits a student, it is an abominable action. 100 years ago, it wasn't an abominable action. Parents would support it. Parents would say that teachers should be strict. Now, as time changes, our concepts change. Killing someone, abominable action, acceptable in war. You put a nuclear bomb and a city gets killed, and it is part of war. Not an abominable action, or is it abominable? What is what is the right thing to do? What is the wrong thing to do? Is very situational. Meghna Singh Kamsa, even though he was evil, he was always fearful of Krishna, led him to think of, oh, yeah, that is correct. So the story goes that he was thinking of him day and night, and so he was actually, all his actions were based on what Krishna would do. So, yeah. Wrong and right were always defined, but we made it situational. I think the minute you say, Saish, the minute you say were always defined, you make it situational, because defined means that somebody defined it. And as soon as somebody defined it, they made it situational to them. So, like laws keep changing. What was legally unacceptable 200 years ago is now acceptable, and vice versa. So, there were a lot of things that were acceptable before, but now they are not. So, right and wrong is situational. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist in our circumstance, because there are consequences. So if you kill somebody and say that people in war kill each other all the time, why should I be punished? That's not going to happen, because we have defined it. So in our small circle, it is real. But from a cosmic sense, it's not. It is it is it is in passing. It is situational. So from that sense, I can understand that it doesn't matter what you do, why you do it makes a difference, right? Yeah. So just like killing in war is acceptable, but killing anywhere else is not. And by the way, I personally believe that even killing in war should not be acceptable, because um, it is animal behavior. It is limbic, right? So you, it's a it's a sign that we haven't learned to communicate properly. So war is a sign that communication has broken down. So I personally don't support it, but not supporting something doesn't mean not understanding it. Hmm. Shaurya, I think what the verse wants to say is, if you do something terrible action, that action doesn't change your personality and you're still engaged in helping people, then you're saintly. Um, Shaurya, I'm not sure about that also. I think that the idea is that there is no terrible action, there are only actions. And there are actions, there is a reason why you did it, and there are consequences. Good and bad, right and wrong are things that we color, like we put that shade on something, but there is an action, there is a reason why you did it, and there are consequences, and that consequences depends on that time and that place and what society thinks about that action at that time. So if the reason why you did it is for a limbic cause, if it's a very personal cause, so for example, if I take something that belongs to somebody else because I want it, it's greedy, then it is not acceptable. And if I am getting pleasure out of it, then it is not acceptable. But if you are doing it from a devotional perspective, there are so many conflicts here because then you would say that what about killing for a religious purpose? But that's the thing. I think that that is also satisfying a very limbic urge. So you're not really killing for a religious purpose. You're killing because you feel good at your identity getting confirmed. And you feel good at killing somebody who is threatening you. So, yeah, this verse is very, I think we can talk about this for a long time more. Okay, text number 31. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachan shashvachanti nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Text number 32. Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syu papayonaya striyo vaishyastatha shudra tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Partha, those who take shelter in me, though may be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas and Shudras can attain the supreme destination. Wow, there is so much that is not acceptable in this verse. Okay, yeah, I'm not even going to begin to try to understand this. This has been talked about in the previous verses. Couple of places it had come up, the idea of the caste system, but so Papa Yona, your Yonaya, born of a lower family, and that is taken separately. Striya is taken separately, and in the translation, they put a hyphen, maybe of lower birth, hyphen women Vaishyas Sudras. And so this is a very good example of abominable versus acceptable in relation to time. Because in 2020, this concept, this thought is unacceptable. Can't um, can't think like this. So yeah, great example. But the idea is that everybody who thinks about uh, working in the with the perspective of the cosmic energy will find themselves liberated. Text number 33. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarshayasthatha anityamasukham lokim lokam imam prapya bhajaswamam. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Text number 34. Manmana bhava bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktaiva matmanam matparayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come unto me. Okay, so this was the last verse. I am going to complete, uh, I'll read the last, the closing hymn, and then we will discuss. Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Raja Guhyama Nama Yoga Navamodhyayaha. Hari Om. Okay, let's see what you guys have to think about that. Um, all right. Wasim, neither is gray, neither white or everything is gray. Uh, like say if everything was neutral, and I know killing someone won't give me the satisfaction or whatever. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The idea of if there is no satisfaction, would you still do it? If there was no sensory perception, would you still do it? Interesting question. We do something bad to cause hurt. Such actions wouldn't have been done if no pain and emotion existed. Someone killed Hitler. That is the favorite example that people give. Whatever you consider as bad, you suffer. Whatever you feel is good, you enjoy. It's your state of mind and perception. Totally not related to what someone thinks other than yourself. That is true because people have different idea of pleasure and punishment. So what is pleasurable to one person may not be, may be painful to someone else. Intention is personal, but the consequences do matter equally because intention of an immoral person, a misguided person could be good for this sake, but outcome could contradict from a neutral point of view. Exactly. So that is why there are consequences. So society has made common consequences for everyone in order to prevent those things. So if somebody harms somebody with very good intentions, it would still result in harm. So we cannot, because we cannot trust everyone to calculate things to that big extent, we have common rules that don't harm anyone. So, and you have common modes of getting justice. So you make a complaint to the police, you reach out to the courts. So you come up with common rules for everyone. Because otherwise, society would have just allowed everyone to settle scores themselves, which is what things were before. But now you have evolved because you don't want to leave it to each individual person. Mm, the caste system of does he mean lower in terms of devotional service? That could be one interpretation. So, this is the interesting thing that a verse like that may leave so much to interpretation. So, if somebody is biased, if somebody is coming in looking for a way to justify their own superiority or inferiority, then they will find that proof. And this is the problem with a lot of religious texts that it depends on the reader who is reading and how are they interpreting it. So, yeah. Shudra here is not about caste, it's beyond that. Okay. Mm, I'm not sure what is that. Kaushal, guys, first of all, it is not the caste system, it's the Varna system. Okay. Right. So read about we can read about it more because definitely knowledge doesn't harm. You should know about how things were and why things changed and why things came about. So one of the common questions that I get in some discussions is that it's almost like you're justifying it. Like knowing something or explaining why something came is justifying it. But I don't see it that way. I think that knowing why something came and knowing why it changed is part of the human story because you cannot expect to get everything right in your first attempt because there is no right. Right keeps changing. So there are a lot of things that we must be doing now which in 200 years will be considered as wrong. But today we won't think of it as wrong because we know why we are doing it. So hopefully 200 years later, people will look back at us and think of, oh, this 2020 people are behaving in such a horrible way, but why were they behaving like that? Because of this. Because we need that justification. So similarly, now when we look back upon things, we can see why things came and why things changed. Yeah. Trying to understand the four Varnas is more complicated than we think. Varna was based on occupation, not birth, but over the time it became too conservative in a response to invasions. Interesting. Why did Krishna choose to fight for the Pandavas? Oh, that's an interesting story, Santosh. So the story is that Krishna didn't choose to fight for the Pandavas. So Krishna was remaining neutral. Okay? And both Duryodhan and uh, Arjun went to Krishna to ask for his support in the war. So both Krishna and the whole Yadava army. So Krishna is from the Yadava army, like he was leader of them, and so Krishna was sleeping. And what happened? The story goes that uh, they could either sit at the foot of the bed or they could sit at the head of the bed. And Duryodhan didn't want to sit at Krishna's feet, so he sat near the head of the bed, and uh, Arjun was sitting at the foot of the bed. Arjun or Yudhishthir, I forgot, but yeah. And Krishna, finally, when he woke up, he opened his eyes and he looked at the foot first. And he saw Yudhishthir first and he asked that you can either choose between me or my army. And Yudhishthir chose Krishna and Duryodhana chose Yadava army. So it's interesting that Krishna was fighting on the Pandava side and his entire army was fighting for the Kauravas. That's the story. It was Arjuna, Jainil is saying. Okay. Internally, Krishna did want Pandavas to win. Oh, okay. That way. Hmm. Well, he wouldn't, right? Like, the whole idea of this book is that short term outcomes should not be aimed for. You should just do your duty. So, from that sense, winning and losing doesn't make a difference. So, Krishna would want everyone to do their duty. So, he would. So, if say, this is very interesting. What if Duryodhana had said that I'm not going to fight? Would Krishna have given this whole talk to Duryodhana? Hmm. Because that is also a problem. Because it's Duryodhana's duty also to fight. Hmm. All right. I think this was a good discussion. I hope that all the technicalities were okay. I hope that I was audible. Obviously, no. Well, there's no way to find out. Like, we can only. He was not having an identity crisis. Exactly. Duryodhana was sorted. Hmm. There's a book called The Difficulty of Being Good. Uh, Ramchandra Guha, I think. No. Uh, I forgot who had written it, but it's a good book. It's based on this whole idea of what is good and bad, and why is a lot of things gray. All right, Tejwiz, welcome to the membership. Mm, We'll be starting medical clinics soon, so that's why we have the new medical students members channel. And yeah, once we cross 100 members, then we will start having members only streams. So, okay, hope to catch up on everything. Abhinav, last was about training your brain and conscious mind, be positive and good. You become what you think. Yes. Saish, are you a teacher? I think we are all teachers and students. I teach medical students in my college. I used to before I left. All right, guys, thank you. Thank you for joining in. And I shall see you soon. This week there are a lot of streams planned. I'll be putting out the schedule tonight on Instagram, and I'll see you soon. This whole month is interesting because we'll be talking about reality. So we'll be having games and we'll be having reality, and we'll be talking about, hopefully by November 30th, we will understand reality a lot more. All right. Can you move this to Sunday? Wait, isn't it Sunday today? You go? I think that, do you think this is Saturday? This is Sunday. This is Sunday morning. I did move it. All right. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful Sunday. See you.